Welcome to the Family Office, planning for the people who matter most.
So with that, let's move on and let's talk about ICE. What's going on? I mean, you've got the 37-year-old gentleman, Alex Preddy. He's going. He sees a lady. He's been confrontational. He has his phone out. They push the lady into the snow. He walks over there. He's still filming, and all of a sudden, you've got 7 ICE agents that attacks him. They see a gun. One of them starts bashing him over the head. I see it from multiple angles. I studied the whole thing just to kind of see, okay, because I saw some grainy pictures and then I saw some clear pictures that gave me some perspective. So I sent you a video that showed a different point of view. What are your thoughts about what happened? Tell me what's on your mind.
Again, whenever somebody loses their life, obviously it's not to be trifled with. It's not to be. It's not.
2 in 2 weeks, man. It's crazy.
I mean, it's crazy. It's just. But again, this is where we have to step back and really look at this and go, okay. Number one, these ICE agents are performing their jobs. Now, the way they do their jobs is it's not up to you. If you don't like the way they do their jobs, then go vote about it. Because that's how we resolve things in a republic and in a democracy. You go and you vote. You don't become a vigilante. Everyone loves Batman. Batman is awesome. Everyone would argue and say Batman is a good thing for Gotham City. But the police always want to arrest him. And the mayor always wants to arrest him. Why? Because he's a vigilante. You cannot have 2 authorities. You can't have 2 dads in one house. You can't have 2 moms in one house. You can't have 2 cooks in a kitchen. You can't. And what you're seeing here is people thinking that they can go out and, under the guise of protest, change the rules and change the law and change how ICE is doing their job. So first and foremost, leave ICE alone. Number one, leave ICE alone. If you see a cop speeding down the highway, you don't speed down the highway with a cop. He's going to go do something. He's going to do something, right? At least that's what he should be going to do, right? Now, some cops are bad. Some ICE is bad. We know this. Some protesters are bad. Some protesters are good. Majority of protesters are probably good. But what you see here is you see this constantly over and over again of a vigilante style going out there, whether it's the vigilante of the 80s or the vigilante of today. The vigilante of the 80s was awesome, right? It was a Batman. The vigilante today is I hate to say it, 65 plus white liberal woman, and they're in tow with either a super omega thrown out of every social circle male or a guy that's just a male Karen. I don't know. And that's always what's in tow. And I don't want to get sensitive about it and stereotype people or all these things, but the actions continue. Like, a duck is a duck because a duck has habits. These people, these human beings, these citizens, these brethren of ours that are doing this, because they're not in a different group. I mean, they're just acting differently from you and I. We're all Americans. They're just acting in a certain way so much now consistently that they're putting themselves in a group of people where you would call them a group of people. I mean, what else do you call them? We group everything. We group Catholics, Protestants, Baptists, atheists, you name it. Everything is grouped, stratified, sorted. It's just the way it works, right? Believers, non-believers, it just is. So these people go out and they do these things and they disrupt ICE. These ICE agents were doing this back in 2016, the same way. They're doing it the same way. So why are we complaining now? Now, that's that point. The elephant in the room point that I think is absolute tragedy is this. Number one, why are you there obstructing ICE? Okay. Number two. And when you obstruct ICE, you create this versus us anarchy thing where you think it's okay and it's not. Because again, you can't have two authorities. You just can't. You can't. And they're not doing anything but getting rid of people that are not here legally. They're just simply doing what the law states they should be doing. That's the effect of that branch of government, to go enforce the law. Just like, by the way, if Len, you and I forgot the list. I was gonna talk to you about the list. If you and I violate immigration policies in the majority of countries, we're doing 12 months or more jail time. Hard labor. Some countries, we're going to labor camps. Yeah, they still exist. Some of them are even in the European Union, right? So the thing that exacerbates it is the fact that this gentleman, if he's a peaceful protester, and this is where I can't defend him, why do you have a gun on you? A loaded gun. A gun. Why do you have a firearm on you? If you are protesting, why do you have a firearm? Because here's the thing. What if that ICE agent would have pulled out pepper spray and sprayed him? His natural reaction, his human reaction, would have been to grab that sidearm and then he just starts shooting everywhere. But he didn't. So when, yes, he gets to the ground, whether he brought out, I don't know. I can't argue the point whether he pointed it, he brought it out. All I know is that a sidearm, a firearm, a weapon was present on him and fell off him, whatever. Either way, a firearm that he was holding and concealing. Len, I carry. The first thing I say to a cop if a cop pulls me over is, my driver's license and everything you need is in this glove box. I carry. I have a weapon. Mm-hmm. Well, this guy is a protester, and he goes to a protest during a heightened, sensitive time. The energy's already heightened, and he goes to one, and then puts himself in combat. You're in combat. You're fighting. You're pushing. You're fighting. You're now put yourself into an active combat state with an authority, and then you have a gun on you, and you don't advise that you have a gun on you. It's kind of hard to defend you at this point, bro. To say, dude, it's kind of reckless what you did, because if you or I did that, my wife or your wife or sons and daughters wouldn't probably I don't know. I know my sons and daughters wouldn't defend me. They'd go, Dad was reckless.
Okay.
And they would also go, Dad, you were reckless. Like, that's just, I'm sorry, Len, I don't agree with the fact that he got killed, but I don't blame ICE for shooting him because he had a firearm on him. Look, we can spin it either way we want. These guys the fact that he got killed and the ICE agent didn't, it's not a fact that the ICE agent killed him. It's a fact that the odds are in the ICE agent's favor. He's a trained person with a weapon. You're not. You're a civilian. So look, at 100 of these occurrences, 90 of them, the victim is not going to be ICE. But I guarantee you, if we keep going this way, by law of statistics and large numbers, you're going to start seeing ICE agents get killed or injured. And unfortunately, Len, I don't even have the faith in these sect of people this group of people that are protesting right now to say that they're not going to make it even more violent.
Okay. So there are arguments that you've made that are easy to make to justify wrongdoing. So I want to set up the stage. So the First Amendment is what? Freedom of speech, right? The Second
Correct.
Amendment is the right to bear arms, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So one of the reasons why those exists is because when the United States broke off from England, they didn't have those rights there. And there were men coming in and raiding the houses of people. And so as a response to that, the United States said, look, we don't want people in power to come to our house because that renders us powerless. So we have a right to bear arms. Okay. The other part of it is that Minnesota is a conceal and carry state. So while I agree with you that it was not smart for him to have a gun and two magazines there with him, I agree with you wholeheartedly about that.
What do you need two magazines? That's kind of almost like it's intent.
All we can do is speculate on his intent. We don't know what his intent was. And I'm not saying that his intent with two magazines could have been anything good under those circumstances. But what I am saying is that I personally disagree with the idea of having a concealed weapon in situations unless it's absolutely necessary to have it. But that's my own personal thing. Minnesota has the right to pass any laws that it deems necessary for its citizenry. They have that right. Different states have different laws with regard to that. So my point in bringing that up is that if he were in California, your argument would be way more valid. Your argument's valid right now, so I'm not invalidating it. But your argument would even be more valid because California is not, you can't carry a concealed weapon out here. That's just not the case. So he's not breaking any laws. Now, when you look at the tape, nothing inside of me objectively shows that lady was acting aggressively enough to allow that ICE agent to just take her and push her into the ground like that. And Alex's response, he didn't go and pull out his gun. He didn't go swing at them. He walked over to her and he still had his phone out and he was filming them, but he stood in between them and her. And then they pepper sprayed him and he did like this. And he said, okay, all right. You don't have to do that. Then they attack him. They throw him on the ground. And all of a sudden you hear this scuffle, then pow, 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 pow. It was like at least 5 shots. I would argue there were like between 7 and 10. I can argue unequivocally, I heard with my own ear, there were at least 5 shots. Allegedly, and again, I don't have all of the facts. It appears as though the gun was found like behind his waist. So it wasn't in his person. He didn't hold it. He didn't brandish it. He didn't do any of that stuff. So what I saw with my eyes on tape, while I agree with you that he should not have had a gun there, he shouldn't have had 2 magazines there. But if everything, take that part of the equation out, everything he did from when he intervened with that young lady who was pushed over, ICE was clearly the aggressor. And that's the reason why I believe that there's so much friction, because the actions they're taking are so way over the top in certain circumstances that in America, it's almost seeming to become a police state in Minnesota. That's not the America that I grew up in, and that's not the America that I see as the right way to handle things. That whole situation was escalated. And to finish my point, what really, really boils me is how, with very little information, Kristi Noem and Kash Patel, they come out and they defend their actions. The first thing that you always are taught to do when you don't have all of the information is to say, look, this is an ongoing investigation. I don't have all of the facts. We are going to get to the bottom of it and make sure that all legal proceedings will be done fairly and just on both sides. But no, that's not what happened. Kristi Noem and Kash Patel, they paint Alex Preddy as this domestic terrorist that has a gun and 2 magazines, and they justify him being killed. And even when Fox News pushes back, then they go and say, oh, well, that's a job of the Department of Homeland Security, and I don't have all of the information when they get pressed on it. But then why do you start off by justifying their actions and defending them without having all of the information? But then you go back and say, I don't have all of the information when they ask you for more information. So I just don't like the White House's stance. Just because they're ICE doesn't mean that you get to justify them killing anybody. That, to me, that's where my trust in the government starts to go down, and my suspicion of this rogue state starts to get heightened. I'm not saying that the state is rogue right now, but what I am saying is that the way they justify these actions does not give me confidence to suggest that they're being fair and objective, and how they speak and the rhetoric they use to justify what's happening. It all stinks. It all stinks to me.
Well, I think those are all valid points. The shock for me is that anyone would think that Kash Patel or DH Secretary Noem would not be politicians and not act like politicians, just like every other administration.
No. This is different. Let me jump in real quick, Chris. What's different is that politicians, while I don't like it, they use double speak to talk and not say anything. What they're doing is fundamentally different, which is they are with not mincing words, justifying the actions of ICE. That's different. So go ahead, Chris, make your point, but I don't like that.
I think it's the same game. I think it's just a different. It's the same exact tactic. It's just a different. They just do it a different way. Their game is just different. It's the same thing. They're acting like politicians. I don't think that's right either. They should look, and that also is kudos too, because that just gives a point to Fox that Fox is doing their job, which is being a good journalist, right? They're calling out, regardless of political side or political affiliation. A lot of people say, "Oh, Fox is the Republican talking point." Well, when you have Fox calling out Kash Patel and DH Secretary Noem, that's good journalism. Then that makes that more people should watch Fox. They're doing their job.
No,
but to
bro.
call it
no. The reason why, okay, when you do something that's that egregious, for Fox to call you out, that's an indictment on what happened, not a kudos for Fox. But they did call him out, so I will give you that. But sometimes things get so egregious where, even CNN will call out, a Democrat on some of their, especially like a Jake Tapper.
Only as of this year.
Bro.
Only as of 2025.
No, that's not true. Now, I'm not here because I'm not a CNN fan or anything like that, but Fox is egregious when it comes to that. But I do give them kudos. That's why I brought it up, that they did call him out on it, but it's because what they were trying to defend is indefensible. So
look, here's the thing. And I understand your point's very valid. I totally agree with you on a lot of that. But the problem still remains for me is this. You decided to engage in active combat when you put yourself between you and someone that ICE was detaining or whatever. Mm-hmm. Again, if you don't like the way ICE was detaining this person, then you need to go take it up with your local law enforcement or
protest.
Right, but don't.
They're exercising their First Amendment right.
Right, I get that, but you stop ceasing to exercise your First Amendment right when you get in the middle of an ICE agent who's in the middle of apprehending somebody or pushing someone. Look, here's the thing.
Are you saying that what they did justified their reaction?
No. What I'm saying is that he became part of the problem and opened himself up to whatever actions when he put himself in the middle of this detain. Think about it this way.
But then that's like suggesting that it's okay not to protest, that we shouldn't protest.
Okay, it's not. I'm not saying that at all. But think about it this way, okay?
Okay.
If you go down to San Bernardino right now, and there's some areas of San Bernardino that are not very nice, and you see gang activity, and you see a 5-0 busting a 17-year-old kid, you see a 5-0 busting a 17-year-old gangbanger, are you going to get in the middle of that because you don't like the way he's roughing the kid up?
No, I'm not.
Okay,
I'm not going to do that, but that doesn't give him the right to rough the kid up, though.
I didn't say that. It just, you're absolutely right, Len. I agree with you. They whatever this lady that the gun, his name, I can't remember his name right now, that got shot. The gentleman that was
Alex Preddy.
Alex Preddy. The moment Alex Preddy decided to get in the middle of that because he didn't like the way ICE was roughing up this lady, the moment he did that, he did exactly what you just said you wouldn't do. He got in the middle of it. I agree that
he didn't make the best decision, but he shouldn't have died for it.
I get it. But that's the right. Okay, so let's change the movie script and have an alternate outcome.
Okay.
Let's say they didn't, and he pops a cap and kills two ICE agents. Then what?
Then your point would be valid. I understand that.
See, that's the problem. That's the problem.
No.
Petty. Hold on, Len. Okay, wait, Len, let me finish this point.
Go ahead, Chris.
Petty. That's his name, right? Petty.
Preddy.
Preddy puts ICE at a losing, uncomfortable situation from the get by him getting involved in an active apprehension. Go ahead. These are federal police that are out doing federal business. Why weren't all of these people, and then we can look at the data, why weren't all of these people out doing these anti-ICE protests during Clinton and Obama and Biden, who all deported double digits? Trump's on 1.8 million. These guys deported double digits. How come these guys weren't so passionate then? I know why. Because they're losing their power. No more woke left bullshit. And they're sad about it. I'm sorry to get weird about it.
That's not it, bro.
But Len, if you put yourself in the middle because you didn't like the way that 5-0 was roughing up a gangbanger, and you got in the middle and you had your concealed carry, your gun, or whatever, even if you didn't have that, let's just say he hit you with the baton and cracked your freaking skull and you died, everyone's going to say, I'm sorry, we were apprehending a gangbanger. Len stepped in the middle of our apprehension and we didn't know who he is, where he's from. We don't know his intentions. ICE agent doesn't have the luxury to sit there and go, hold on, let me make sure and do due process. This is a active law enforcement apprehension.
No, but that's not what was happening at that point. So, Chris,
but these guys are, but hold on, Len. Okay, fine. Let me frame it a different way then. This lady stepped in front of the middle of a freaking ICE vehicle.
That's not what I saw. That's not what you saw on that.
But what did she do to engage with ICE for ICE to engage with? ICE just isn't coming up to people. These people are actively putting their bodies in front of the cars.
Okay.
And here's what the funny thing is, Len, I'll throw it back over to you. The craziest thing that I think is the most funniest of it all is you see this happening now on social media where these peaceful protesters go up to these cars and they start doing the things that they're doing, like bashing them, standing in front of them. And then all of a sudden they realize that they're not an ICE agent. They just have a car that, because a lot of people there are a lot of
SUVs and stuff.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden someone like me, because I would, gets out of the car and beats the living shit out of them in the middle of the street and goes, and the guy says it, mess with my truck again, bro, get out of here. That's why you're seeing this on social media, because these peaceful protesters, as soon as that woman agitated ICE to come after her, ICE isn't going after you unless you fit a profile, or they're coming after you, and they're pretty smart on who they're going after, right? And they go after you. The moment that lady agitated ICE, she became a suspect. She committed a crime, Len, and that crime is what? Obstruction of what? Justice. As soon as that man got in between him, the police, and that lady. He committed a crime, obstruction of justice. He now put himself in an active apprehension mode. The police now need to neutralize him so that they can neutralize this other protester because they're getting in the way, because they're obstructing the justice, and so that they can then go get the criminal before the criminal goes and stabs someone on a bus or kills someone's son and daughter or runs over a family on an interstate freeway because they're here illegally and don't have a proper driver's license. This is exactly what ICE is doing. And the problem is that these people won't stop protesting until it hits them home and one of theirs gets killed or murdered or whatever.
All right. So your argument is what will allow the United States. Your arguments is what will allow the United States to become a police state.
I don't think so, Lance.
This is why I say that.
So.
Let me make my point.
Go ahead.
The reason why I think what you're saying, because it's very easy to justify the unnecessary use of power because of a perceived threat. See, a law enforcement officer's job is very difficult. I would not want to be one because somebody says something crazy to me. I don't know what I would do in the heat of things. So I'm not.
And that's the unfair advantage. Again, that's the unfair advantage, right?
But the laws. But you have to also understand that the laws are made to give both sides rights so they can exercise their freedoms in a free country.
Right.
So let me finish. So here's the issue, Chris, is that you can always, like this lady, what I'm seeing on the video, you cannot tell me that what she was doing. Now, she might have been agitating them. She might have been saying, "Get out of here, you dirty pig," whatever. I don't know what she was saying, but let's just say she said all of that. If she said all of that, their role in that case, because they're not doing anything, you ignore and you keep it moving. He comes over, he pushes her, she falls to the ground. Another guy is there, Alex, and he goes and he just steps in between them. And then it escalates from 0 to 100 from there. So again, it's always easy to take one variable in that whole dynamic and preemptively suggest what could have happened. Well, as a police officer, I should just be able to say, using your analogy, well, man, if I pull Chris over and you've got conceal and carry, I should just be able to pull my gun out and say, "Hey, put it on the ground," and then escalate everything, because what you could do with that gun is you could kill me. Now, a policeman's job is to de-escalate. And what happened in that situation was all but de-escalation. And what's happening is tensions are high. What would be best is if ICE pulled away from Minnesota right now, left for a month, 2 months, 3 months, go to another place, figure out how can we continue to apprehend the worst of the worst that are here illegally. Then we come back to Minnesota at some point in time when tensions have cooled, have some type of town hall or something like that, get a common understanding, and then move forward. Because right now, them continuing to be there is only increasing tensions. And when tensions are high, you have so many elements that are introduced by just common, everyday, untrained citizens. There is a higher responsibility that people in office have and people in uniform have than all of us, because they signed up for something different than we have. They're there to enforce the laws. They're not there to impose the rule of law on people and go outside of that rule of law that they profess to uphold. That is a contradiction. And so I think we'll agree to disagree on how they're interacting with each other. All I'm saying, Chris, is that the types of freedoms that we hold true is being trampled upon because they're abusing their power to continue to impose force to allow their objective to be taken care of. And I think it's wrong.
I'll close out with this, and then we could wrap up. I'm with you on that. I feel you on that. I hear you on that. I totally do. But I would even want you in the if I was in power and I had to make these decisions, I would want you in the room telling me that. But I can't say that I would have ICE pull out. I would double down on it right now because in the back of my mind, we're at war. We are. We're at war right now. And
you're right. That's dangerous.
We are at war. And here's why. Because if what you are saying is so scary, Len, and it is, the United States not being the reserve currency and the United States not being, the world superpower and all the things that you say and why the United States, is going to fall and all, then that means we're at war. And war today is not the way war was 200 years ago, 100 years ago. War comes in the United States from the inside out. That's what takes the United States down. And this just looks like a systematic way to take a country out. Look, immigration is a tool and it's weaponized by politicians all the time. It is. It's weaponized. It's a weaponization against America. So yeah, because the thing is, if we would draw ICE right now, that shows weakness, and then it just emboldens those that are there, that are helping people commit illegal activities, and those that are there that are committing activity. It just emboldens them and allows them to sink teeth in and to grow roots, or to go do some nefarious activities somewhere else. Because nefarious people always will do nefarious activities. It's just character. So, I think at the root of this, it's a shame that we are at this point. But these are the same things that all these other previous administrations did. They just did them more violently. We just didn't see that they did them. And I think that also at the same time, we should really be scared about these people that are calling out the actions, the politicians that are protecting these people. I mean, think about it. What are you protesting? You're protesting against ICE that's enforcing a law against people that are breaking the law here. So you're protesting, you're the law, the sheer nonsensory of it all is just baffling. The fact that you can say, what are you protesting? ICE. Why? Because they're out here. Doing what? Getting illegals out of the country. So you're protesting law enforcement capturing people that broke the law. So what you're saying is that you're in favor of people breaking the law? Because that's what you're protesting, essentially. You're protesting against the law that look, this is anarchy. We should have law and order. But yet you're protesting in favor of people that are breaking the law. See, that's where I just don't understand the peaceful protest argument, because you're protesting against people that are here illegally. So that to me, Len, look, at the end of the day, he shouldn't have been killed. I'm at the same exact thing with you, Len, because the same thing is good. When we talked about the good thing, police need to de-escalate. But at this point, I'm like going, dude, like.
Okay, so this is, and we'll close with this. Okay, so
because I feel you on it, I'm going down, Len. I get you, bro, but I'm like down, dude. Like,
okay, seriously, I think this is a point you and I can agree on. I believe that this situation is a symptom of propagandized media.
Yes.
And I think that just having media state the facts and allow us to come to our own conclusions is what we need. Because I'll give you an example on the other side. There was a 17-year-old boy. Remember how I talked about you can find any instance of something that's true to suggest your point of view and make it as though it's rampant and running everywhere. Remember I brought that up before?
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Okay, so in this case, there was a 17-year-old kid that worked for Target. I don't know if you heard about that. They came into his place of employment and pulled him out, and they roughed him up a bit. They dropped him off at Walmart. He ends up coming back to work and they're like, "Oh my God, are you okay?" And he's crying. They conceal his identity. And, he had been beaten up by ICE. And he was like, "Man, I was born here. This is not right." And they were like, "Are you okay?" He was like, "No, like they really hurt me," And so then when you watch that, it gets on your heartstrings. And so then it's like, on the one hand, you feel like ICE is just randomly going and pulling people out of their jobs and beating them up, dropping them off at the wrong place. I heard a 5-year-old kid was harassed, a 17-year-old kid. And those are instances just to justify one point of view. And then on the other hand, you have the rapist that came and, beat up his wife, and the guy that gets on the bus and stabs a girl in cold blood. And both sides are correct, but they overemphasize those instances as if there's this mass pandemonium that's going on. And so people get in those echo chambers, and then these protests, it becomes a tinderbox. And I think, again, and I've said it before and I'll say it again, that we need to tone it down, and the media is the biggest perpetrators on both sides of the fence of creating this hysteria, making things, isolated instances, making it seem like it's rampant and everywhere. And so I think hopefully we can agree on that. And man, I always enjoy our back and forth conversations. And man, for those of you that are out there and you're watching content like this, we're two business owners just trying to have a point of view. We don't profess to be journalists. We don't profess to be out there, getting all firsthand information, but we do profess to be unbiased or articulate our biases. And we do profess to give you the best information that we know how, without spinning it just to present a point of view. But he brings his point of view. Chris, I'm talking about, my co-host. I bring my point of view. I'm his co-host. And regardless of who you agree with, hopefully sometimes you'll agree with him. Sometimes you'll agree with me, because that means that we're both saying the truth from time to time. And hopefully you'll disagree with both of us as well, because we're not always a monolith. So with that, Chris, man, any closing words before we part ways?
No, I just think it's a great time to be alive, and I think there's a lot of opportunities right now today to get yourself to the next level. There is a lot of things to be excited about, and I think, as always, this soon shall pass too. I mean, we think back to the 60s. Felix were the streets water cannoning people, right? So this too shall pass, and I just think that, again, emphasize your point, Len. Tone it down and just relax and enjoy your life. And it's not that big of a deal. Don't take things too seriously. But outside of that, Len, have a phenomenal week, and we'll see you guys on the next time. And like and subscribe if you like the content, and go ahead and comment. Len, see you on the next one, sir. Take care.
You too.
Conversation has given you clarity on your next steps. Please share this episode with someone who's walking the same path. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you won't miss future episodes. And remember, planning ahead isn't just prudent, it's an act of care. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time on The Family Office.